It's midnight on a Tuesday, and I'm elbow deep in a '69 Barracuda engine, wondering why the motor sounds like my marriage, clunky, full of secrets, and making noises that shouldn't be there. The fluorescent lights in my garage flicker like they're having seizures, casting shadows that dance across rusted muscle cars and half-finished dreams. That's when I hear it. Voices from the house next door, sharp and cutting through the night air like broken glass. You think I don't know about him? My daughter Becca's voice carries that special brand of venom only 21-year-old college girls can master. At least Nate treats you like a woman. Dad's just some garage monkey who can't even keep his own wife. The wrench slips from my hand, clattering against the concrete floor. 23 years of marriage, and this is how I find out my world's been crumbling. Not through tears or confessions or even a decent fight, but through my own daughter throwing it in my face like yesterday's newspaper. I wipe my hands on the shop rag, the same one I've been using for 3 years. Everything in this place has history, unlike the people in my house, apparently. My name's Jack Morrison, and I've spent the last 15 years building this auto restoration business from nothing. Started with a rusted-out Camaro and a dream. Now I've got 6 bays and a reputation for bringing muscle cars back from the grave. Too bad I can't resurrect marriages. The voices get louder, and I catch fragments through the thin walls. Alyssa, my wife of 23 years, is defending herself, but not the way you'd expect. She's not denying anything. She's explaining it. Becca, you don't understand the complexity of adult relationships, she says, in that lawyer voice she uses when she's about to justify something unjustifiable. Your father and I have grown apart. Nate understands my ambitions. Ambitions? Right. Like sleeping with some real estate developer half her age is going to get her that senior partnership at Hartwell and Associates. I should storm in there, demand explanations, throw furniture around like they do in the movies. Instead, I just stand here in my garage, surrounded by cars that people trust me to fix, wondering when I became the kind of man whose wife needs to find understanding somewhere else. The Barracuda's engine block stares at me like it's waiting for answers I don't have. This car belongs to Tommy Ricci, who's been saving for 2 years to get his dad's old ride restored. Tommy trusts me to bring back something precious to him. His wife doesn't trust him to remember to pick up milk on the way home, but she doesn't cheat on him either. The front door slams hard enough to rattle the windows in the garage. Through the dirty glass, I watch Becca storm down the driveway toward her little Honda Civic. She's been home from college for exactly 4 days, and apparently that was enough time to become an expert on my failures as a husband. Alyssa appears in the doorway between the house and garage, still wearing her courtroom armor, navy suit, hair pulled back tight enough to give most people headaches, that expression she wears when she's about to cross-examine a hostile witness. Jack, we need to talk. I pick up the wrench, turn back to the engine. Funny. I was just thinking the same thing. Who's Nate? The silence stretches out like a rubber band about to snap. I can feel her behind me, probably calculating her next move the way she does everything else. Alyssa never says anything without running it through 3 different legal filters first. He's a colleague, she finally says. Colleagues don't usually inspire daughters to call their fathers garage monkeys. I adjust the work light, casting harsh shadows across the engine bay. Unless there's some new professional development I missed. Don't be sarcastic, Jack. It doesn't suit you. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. After 23 years, I'm still discovering what suits me. Apparently, being a husband doesn't make the list. She steps closer, and I catch a whiff of expensive perfume. Not the kind she wears for me. This is hunting perfume, the kind designed to attract prey. We've been drifting apart for years, she says, falling back on what sounds like a rehearsed speech. You know it, I know it. We barely talk anymore unless it's about bills or Becca's college expenses. So you decided to talk to Nate instead. I straighten up, finally turning to face her. At 44, Alyssa still turns heads when she walks into a room. Sharp cheekbones, green eyes that can cut through steel, legs that go on for days. I used to be proud that she chose me. Now I'm wondering if she ever really did. It's not that simple. Sure it is. You're having an affair. That's about as simple as it gets. Her lawyer mask slips for just a second, and I catch a glimpse of something that might be guilt, or maybe just annoyance at being caught. I want a separation, she says. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but I've been in enough fights to know how to take a hit without showing it. Of course you do. Can't have the garage monkey cramping your style with Mr. Ambition. Stop calling yourself that. You own a successful business. But it's not good enough, is it? Not prestigious enough for the senior partner track. What's Nate do, buy and sell office buildings? Let me guess. He wears suits that cost more than I make in a month and drives something German with a name I can't pronounce. The fact that she doesn't deny it tells me everything I need to know. I'll be staying at Jennifer's tonight, she says. Jennifer Walsh, her best friend since law school, who's been divorced 3 times and collects failed marriages like some people collect stamps. We can discuss the details tomorrow. She turns to leave, then pauses. And Jack? Don't do anything stupid. After she's gone, I stand alone in my garage, surrounded by machines I understand, thinking about the one relationship I apparently never figured out at all. The Barracuda's engine seems to mock me with its silence. I pull out my phone and call Rico Santana, who owns the boxing gym where I still work out 3 times a week. Rico's been my friend since high school, back when we both thought we might make something of ourselves in the ring. He made it to the Golden Gloves. I made it to owning a garage and a marriage that just imploded. Jack, it's past midnight, man. Everything okay? Define okay, I say. Alyssa's having an affair, wants a separation, and my daughter thinks I'm a loser. Other than that, it's been a fantastic evening. Rico's quiet for a moment. Then, you want to hit something, or you want to get even? What's the difference? Hitting something makes you feel better for about 10 minutes. Getting even? That's a long-term investment. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I look around my garage, at the cars people trust me to restore, at the business I built with my own hands, at the life I thought I understood. I'll call you tomorrow, I tell him. But as I turn off the lights and head toward an empty house, I'm already thinking about investments. The next morning arrives like a hangover I didn't earn. Alyssa's side of the bed looks like it was made by a hotel maid, perfectly smooth, untouched, cold. I've been staring at the ceiling since 5 a.m., running scenarios through my head like I'm planning a restoration project. First rule of fixing anything. You have to understand what's broken before you can figure out how to repair it. Or in this case, how to make sure it stays broken. I make coffee strong enough to wake the neighbors and sit at the kitchen table with Alyssa's tablet, which she forgot in her rush to get to Jennifer's place. She never was good with technology, always leaving devices logged in, passwords saved, digital breadcrumbs scattered everywhere like she's Hansel and Gretel. The message thread with Nate makes for interesting reading. Nate, can't wait to see you tonight. That thing you do with your tongue drives me crazy. Alyssa, Jack's working late again. Same time, same place? Nate, your husband's an idiot for not appreciating what he has. Alyssa, soon he won't have it anymore. There are dozens of these messages, going back 4 months. Hotel receipts, restaurant reservations, plans made around my work schedule. They've been careful. I'll give them that. Always meeting downtown, never anywhere we might have mutual friends. But here's the thing about being careful. It only works if everyone involved is smart. And judging by some of these messages, Nate's got the intellectual capacity of a decorative houseplant. Nate, bought you something special. Victoria's Secret. Size 6. Red. Hope Jack doesn't notice it in your drawer, lol. Amateur. If you're going to have an affair, Don't leave a paper trail that leads back to your credit card. Don't put heart emojis next to your name in a married woman's phone. And definitely don't buy lingerie that any husband with half a brain would recognize as new. I scroll through more messages, building a profile of my wife's boyfriend. Nathan Cross, 36 years old, owns Cross Development LLC. Specializes in converting old buildings into trendy loft apartments and overpriced office space. Drives a BMW X5, lives in the Meridian Tower downtown, one of those glass and steel monuments to gentrification that sprouted up like weeds after the city started its urban renewal project. His profile picture shows a guy who spends more money on hair products than I spend on groceries. Square jaw, perfect teeth, the kind of tan that comes from vacation homes and golf courses rather than honest work. He looks like he stepped out of a magazine ad for expensive watches or luxury cars. The kind of man Alyssa apparently thinks she deserves. My phone buzzes with a text from Rico. Gym's open early if you want to hit the heavy bag before work. On my way, I reply. Rico's gym sits in the basement of an old brick building that used to house a textile factory. The place smells like sweat, leather, and dreams deferred. It's not fancy. No chrome equipment or mirrors everywhere, just heavy bags, speed bags, a ring that's seen more action than most marriage beds, and enough free weights to build a small car. Rico's already there, wrapping his hands for his morning workout. At 52, he's still built like the middleweight contender he used to be, all shoulders and attitude. His dark hair's gone mostly gray, but his hands are still quick enough to catch flies. You look like garbage, he says by way of greeting. Feel worse. I grab my gloves from the locker, start wrapping my hands. The ritual is soothing. Wind the cloth between fingers, around the wrist, over the knuckles. Same pattern I've followed for 30 years. So tell me about this Nate character. I give him the basics while I warm up on the speed bag. Rico listens without comment, the way he used to listen to fight strategy back when we thought boxing might be our ticket out of this town. Real estate, huh? Rico spits into the bucket beside the heavy bag. Those guys are all the same. Big talk, bigger egos, soft hands. What's your move? Still working on that. I start hitting the heavy bag, letting muscle memory take over. Jab, cross, hook, uppercut. Simple combinations that clear the head and focus the mind. You could always just beat the crap out of him, Rico suggests. Wouldn't be the first time you settled something with your fists. And end up in jail? No thanks. Alyssa would love that. Gives her grounds for divorce and makes me look like exactly the kind of Neanderthal she's trying to escape. So what then? I pause, gloves resting against the bag. You remember Tommy Castellano? Rico's face darkens. Tommy Castellano owned half the construction contracts in the city until someone started a rumor that he was using substandard materials. Turned out to be true, but the someone who started the rumor was his business partner, who wanted Tommy's share of the company. By the time the dust settled, Tommy was bankrupt, and his partner owned everything. I remember, Rico says. Reputation's a fragile thing. Especially for people who depend on public trust. I go back to hitting the bag, harder now. Real estate developers need financing, investors, city permits. They need people to believe they're successful, trustworthy, worth doing business with. And lawyers need their professional reputation, Rico adds, catching on. Bar association frowns on certain kinds of behavior. Exactly. The bag shudders under a particularly hard right cross. Alyssa's worked 15 years to get where she is. She's not going to throw that away for some pretty boy with commitment issues. Unless she doesn't have a choice. I stop hitting the bag, breathing hard. Unless she doesn't have a choice. Rico grins, and for a moment he looks like the fighter he used to be. Hungry, dangerous, ready for war. Now you're thinking like a boxer instead of a victim. What do you need? Information about both of them, financial records, business dealings, personal habits, anything that might be useful. I still know some people from my cop days, Rico says. He spent 10 years on the force before opening the gym. Nothing illegal, just public records, gossip, that kind of thing. Perfect. I unwrap my hands, feeling better than I have in months. And Rico, this stays between us. Goes without saying. He holds out his fist for a bump. Welcome back to the fight game, champ. I spend the rest of the morning at the garage, working on the Barracuda and thinking about strategy. Tommy Ricci stops by around noon to check on progress, bringing sandwiches from Carmine's Deli. How's she looking? He asks, nodding toward his dad's car. Getting there. Engine's almost ready, then we'll work on the transmission. I accept the sandwich gratefully. Pastrami on rye with mustard, the kind of simple pleasure that reminds you life isn't all complicated. My old man would have loved this, Tommy says, running his hand along the car's fender. He bought this thing brand new in 1969, drove it until the day he passed. Always said he was going to restore it someday. Someday's a dangerous word, I tell him. It's where dreams go to wait. Tommy nods, understanding. That's why I brought it to you. Figure if anyone can bring her back to life, it's Jack Morrison. After he leaves, I sit in my office, really just a corner of the garage with a desk and a filing cabinet, and think about resurrection. Some things can be restored, brought back better than they were before. Others are too far gone, too damaged by neglect or abuse. The trick is knowing which is which. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Your wife's car is in the parking garage at Meridian Tower. Level 3, spot 47. Thought you should know. I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete it. Someone's watching, someone who knows about the affair and wants me to know they know. In a town this size, secrets don't stay secret long. They just wait for the right moment to surface. I lock up the garage early and drive downtown, parking across the street from Meridian Tower. It's one of those gleaming monuments to progress that the city council loves, all glass and steel and architectural angles that look impressive in photographs but feel cold in person. Sure enough, Alyssa's silver Lexus is exactly where the text said it would be, parked next to a black BMW X5 with vanity plates that read, Nate 1. Subtle as a brick through a window. I don't get out of my truck, don't take pictures or confront anyone or make a scene. I just sit there for 20 minutes, watching people come and go from the building, learning the rhythms of the place. Knowledge is power, Rico always said, and power is something I'm going to need a lot more of before this is over. As I drive home, I pass the billboard for Cross Development LLC, Nathan Cross's smiling face looming over the intersection like some kind of real estate deity. Building tomorrow's city today, the slogan reads. I wonder what tomorrow's city will look like when I'm done with it. 3 days later, I'm parked outside Meridian Tower again, but this time I'm not just watching. It's 11 p.m. on a Friday, and the parking garage is mostly empty, except for a few cars belonging to people working late or having affairs they think nobody knows about. The security guard makes his rounds every hour like clockwork. I've been timing him for 3 nights. He's got the enthusiasm of a man counting down to retirement, which makes him predictable. Predictable is useful. Nate's BMW sits in its usual spot, next to Alyssa's Lexus. They've been meeting here every Tuesday and Friday for the past month, according to the pattern I've mapped out from Alyssa's tablet. She tells me she's working late on the Henderson case. He probably tells whoever he needs to tell that he's reviewing construction bids. The lies people tell to justify their choices never cease to amaze me. I pull on latex gloves, the kind I use when handling chemicals in the garage, and grab my toolkit. Nothing fancy, just basic tools any mechanic would carry. The BMW's alarm system is decent, but not great. 15 minutes of careful work and I'm inside the vehicle without triggering anything. Rich people always think expensive equals secure. Usually, they're wrong. I don't take anything, don't plant anything, don't damage anything that would cost serious money to repair. Instead, I make small adjustments. the kind that will drive someone crazy without being immediately obvious. I adjust the seat position just slightly, move the mirrors, change the radio presets to country music stations, set the air conditioning to maximum heat, reprogram the GPS to display everything in Spanish, small annoyances that will add up to major frustration. Then I leave a note on the dashboard, written in block letters with a Sharpie. Your wife called. She knows. Nate doesn't have a wife, but he doesn't know that I know that. Let him sweat for a while, wondering who might be watching him. The security guard is still making his rounds on the ground floor when I slip out of the garage. I drive home feeling better than I have in weeks. The next morning, Alyssa comes home looking frazzled. Her hair's disheveled, her makeup smeared, and she's got that particular kind of tension that comes from a night that didn't go according to plan. Rough evening at the office? I ask from behind my coffee cup. She glares at me suspiciously. Why would you ask that? You look like you wrestled with a brief and lost. Very funny. She pours herself coffee with shaking hands. If you must know, there was an incident in the parking garage last night. Someone broke into Nathan's car. Nathan? I raise an eyebrow. I thought you said he was just a colleague. The coffee cup freezes halfway to her lips. He is. We were discussing the Henderson case when it happened. At 11 o'clock on a Friday night? That's dedication. Some cases require extensive consultation. I bet they do. I fold my newspaper with deliberate precision. Did they take anything valuable? That's the strange part. Nothing was stolen, just rearranged. And there was this weird note about someone's wife calling. I make a show of looking confused. Sounds like a prank. Kids these days, no respect for other people's property. Alyssa studies my face like she's cross-examining a hostile witness, looking for tells and inconsistencies. After 23 years of marriage, she knows most of my expressions, but she doesn't know the ones I learned in Rico's gym. The poker face you need when you're hurt, but can't let your opponent know it. The police think it might be someone with a grudge, she says carefully. Against a real estate developer? Hard to imagine. I stand up, rinse my coffee cup in the sink. I'll be at the garage if anyone needs me. You know, doing actual work instead of extensive consultation. I'm halfway to the door when she calls after me. Jack, you didn't have anything to do with this, did you? I turn back, letting just enough hurt show in my expression to sell the performance. You're asking if I vandalized some stranger's car because you worked late? What kind of man do you think I am? The question hangs in the air between us, loaded with 23 years of history and resentment. She doesn't answer, which is answer enough. At the garage, I find Rico waiting for me with a manila folder and a satisfied grin. Got that information you wanted? He says, tossing the folder on my workbench. Your boy Nathan's got some interesting business practices. I flip through the documents while Rico gives me the highlights. Cross Development LLC is leveraged to the eyeballs, carrying debt on 6 different properties that aren't generating the revenue Nathan projected. He's behind on payments to 3 different contractors, and there are rumors that he's been cutting corners on safety inspections to save money. Classic house of cards, Rico explains. Looks impressive from the outside, but one strong wind and the whole thing comes tumbling down. What about Alyssa? Clean as a whistle, professionally speaking. But here's the interesting part. She's been doing legal work for Cross Development. Nothing official, no paperwork filed with her firm. Looks like she's been giving him free advice on how to handle his contractor disputes. I study a photograph of Nathan glad-handing the mayor at some charity function. He's got that politician's smile, all teeth and no sincerity, the kind of expression that makes you want to count your fingers after shaking hands. So she's not just sleeping with him, I muse. She's helping him with his business problems. Pillow talk gets expensive when one of the pillows is a lawyer. Rico agrees. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I close the folder, mind already working through possibilities. Nathan's got an image to maintain. Successful businessman, pillar of the community, That whole routine. What happens if people start questioning whether he's as successful as he claims? Investors get nervous. Banks start asking uncomfortable questions. City council might take a closer look at his permit applications. And if word gets out that he's getting free legal advice from a married lawyer? Bar association takes a dim view of that kind of thing, Rico finishes, especially if there's a personal relationship involved. I spend the rest of the day working on the Barracuda's transmission, letting my hands stay busy while my mind processes information. By closing time, I have the beginnings of a plan. That evening, I create an anonymous email account and start sending messages. Nothing dramatic or threatening, just concerned citizen inquiries to the right people. Questions about cross-development safety record sent to the city building inspector. Anonymous tips about potential permit violations forwarded to the Planning Commission. Innocent queries about Nathan's financial stability sent to his biggest investors. Each message is carefully crafted to sound like legitimate concern rather than malicious gossip. I don't make accusations. I just ask questions and suggest that someone might want to look into things more carefully. The beauty of a small city is that everyone knows everyone else's business, and people love to talk. All you have to do is give them something interesting to discuss. My phone buzzes with a text from Alyssa. Working late again tonight, don't wait up. I text back, be careful in parking garages, lots of weirdos out there. She doesn't respond. Around midnight, I drive past Meridian Tower one more time. Both cars are there in their usual spots, and I can see lights on in Nathan's corner office on the 15th floor. They're probably up there right now, planning their future together, completely unaware that I'm systematically dismantling the foundation it's built on. Tomorrow I'll make some phone calls, spread a few more seeds of doubt, ask a few more innocent questions. After all, I'm just a concerned citizen looking out for my community's best interests. What could be wrong with that? The first crack in Nathan's perfect facade appears on Tuesday morning, courtesy of the city building inspector. I'm working under the hood of a '67 Mustang when Rico walks into the garage with a newspaper and a grin that could light up the whole block. Page 3, he says, dropping the paper on my workbench. Your handiwork's starting to show. The headline reads, Safety Violations Found at Cross-Development Sites. The article details how Building Inspector Margaret Chen discovered multiple code violations during a routine inspection of Nathan's latest project, a converted loft building downtown. Apparently, someone had called in an anonymous tip about potential safety hazards. Someone. Right. According to the article, the violations include substandard electrical work, improper ventilation in several units, and fire exits that don't meet current safety codes. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to shut down construction for 2 weeks while everything gets brought up to standard. 2 weeks of construction delays, Rico observes. That's gotta cost him serious money. Plus the cost of fixing everything, I add, wiping my hands on a shop rag, and the hit to his reputation. Investors hate safety violations, makes them nervous about what else might be wrong. My phone buzzes with a text from Alyssa. Need to talk when you get home. Important. I show the message to Rico, who chuckles. Bet Loverboy's having a rough morning. Probably calling his lawyer girlfriend for free advice on how to handle bad publicity. That afternoon, I get a call from Danny Morrison, no relation, despite the name, who runs the local contractors association. Danny's one of those guys who knows everyone and everything that happens in the construction business. Jack, you hear about this cross-development situation? Read about it in the paper. Sounds messy. Messier than you know, Danny says. Word's getting around that Nathan's been stiffing contractors, paying late or not at all. Now with these safety violations, some of the guys are talking about filing liens against his properties. That's got to hurt. Gets worse. My buddy Tony Rizzo did electrical work on 3 of Nathan's buildings. Says Nathan kept pushing him to cut corners, use cheaper materials, skip some of the safety inspections. Tony refused, but apparently Nathan found other contractors who were more flexible. I make appropriate sympathetic noises while mentally filing away this information. Tony Rizzo's got a reputation for quality work and honest dealing. If he's talking about Nathan's business practices, other people are listening. Anyway, Danny continues, thought you should know in case anyone asks you to do work for cross-development. Might want to think twice about it. After hanging up, I spend some time researching Nathan's financial situation more thoroughly. Rico's police contacts provided the basics, but I need deeper information. Fortunately, most business records are public if you know where to look and have the patience to dig through bureaucratic filing systems. What I find is illuminating. Cross Development LLC is carrying almost $3 million in debt across 6 different properties. Nathan's been using a shell game financing strategy, borrowing against one property to pay for work on another, then refinancing the first property to cover the loans. It works as long as everything goes according to plan and property values keep rising. But construction delays, safety violations, and contractor disputes have a way of disrupting even the best-laid plans. I'm still researching when Alyssa comes home at 6:30, earlier than she's been getting home in months. She's got that tense, brittle energy that means she's about to explode, but is trying to hold it together. "We need to talk," she announces, dropping her briefcase on the kitchen counter with more force than necessary. "So you mentioned." I close my laptop, give her my full attention. "What's on your mind?" She paces to the window, stares out at the backyard where we used to have barbecues and birthday parties back when we were still pretending to be a happy family. "Someone's been asking questions about Nathan," she says without turning around. "The building inspector, the planning commission, his investors, all in the same week. That's not a coincidence. Maybe he's just having a run of bad luck." She whirls around, green eyes flashing. "Don't patronize me, Jack. I'm not stupid." "Never said you were, but I'm not sure what you're implying." "I'm implying that someone with a grudge might be making phone calls, sending anonymous tips, stirring up trouble." I lean back in my chair, keeping my expression neutral. "That's a serious accusation. You got any proof?" "Just a feeling. Feelings don't hold up in court." The irony isn't lost on either of us. She's the lawyer, but I'm the one pointing out the lack of evidence. Her face flushes with anger or embarrassment, maybe both. "If you're behind this—" "Behind what?" I interrupt. "I don't even know this Nathan guy. Never met him, never had any business dealings with him. Why would I care about his construction problems?" It's technically true. I've never actually met Nathan Cross face to face. Everything I know about him comes from research, observation, and his own careless digital footprints. Alyssa studies my face, looking for tells. "You're enjoying this." "Enjoying what? My wife coming home stressed out and angry? My daughter thinking I'm a failure? My 23-year marriage falling apart? Yeah, I'm having the time of my life." The sarcasm hits its mark. She flinches, some of the fight going out of her. "Jack, I never meant for things to get this complicated." "But they did get complicated, and now you're looking for someone to blame besides yourself." She sits down across from me, suddenly looking older than her 44 years. "What do you want from me?" It's a good question. A month ago, I would have said I wanted my wife back, my marriage restored, my family intact. Now I'm not sure what I want besides the satisfaction of watching her perfect new world crumble around her. "I want honesty," I tell her. "For once in the last 4 months, I want you to tell me the truth about what's going on." She's quiet for a long moment, weighing her options. Finally, "I'm in love with him." The words hit like a physical blow, even though I was expecting them. Hearing it confirmed is different from knowing it intellectually. And I want a divorce." "So, you said before. What's stopping you?" Another long pause. "It's complicated." "Because he's married?" "He's not married." The answer comes too quickly, defensive. "It's just, the timing is difficult right now, with his business problems." Now we're getting somewhere. Hard to start a new life with someone whose financial situation is questionable. It's not about money. Everything's about money, Alyssa. You're a lawyer. You know that better than anyone. She stands up abruptly, the conversation apparently over. I'm staying at Jennifer's again tonight. Give her my regards. After she leaves, I sit in the quiet kitchen, processing what just happened. Alyssa's scared. Nathan's business problems are bigger than she expected, and she's starting to realize that her knight in shining armor might be riding a horse made of cardboard. But she's not ready to give up on him yet, which means I need to apply more pressure. I spend the evening making more phone calls, sending more anonymous tips. This time I focus on Nathan's financial situation, rather than just his construction practices. A concerned citizen inquiry to the bank that holds his primary construction loan. An anonymous tip to the IRS about potential unreported income. A carefully worded question to the state contractor's licensing board about whether cross-development's bonding is adequate given their debt load. Each call is brief, professional, and completely untraceable. Just a concerned citizen asking reasonable questions about a local businessman's practices. By the time I go to bed, I've planted seeds of doubt in 6 different places. Tomorrow those seeds will start to grow, and Nathan Cross's perfect world will start to shrink. The second wave hits Nathan on Thursday morning like a freight train carrying bad news. I'm installing a new carburetor in Tommy Ricci's Barracuda when Rico walks in with fresh intelligence and a satisfied expression. Your boy's having a very bad week, he announces, settling into the folding chair I keep in the garage for visitors. 3 of his contractors filed liens against his properties yesterday. The bank called in his construction loan for review. And get this, the city council's talking about investigating his permit process. I look up from the engine bay, feigning mild interest. Sounds like someone's having a run of bad luck. Bad luck nothing. This is a coordinated campaign, and it's working. Rico pulls out his phone, shows me a photo he took downtown. Check this out. The image shows Nathan's latest construction site, the loft conversion project that got shut down for safety violations. What used to be a busy work zone is now empty except for a few pieces of abandoned equipment and a large sign reading, "Construction halted by order of city building inspector." Place has been like that for 3 days, Rico says. Every day it sits empty costs him money he doesn't have. My phone buzzes with a text from Alyssa. Nathan wants to meet with you. I show the message to Rico, who whistles low. Interesting development. What about? I text back. Business opportunity. Tonight, 7 p.m., Carmine's restaurant. I stare at the message, mind racing through possibilities. Nathan Cross wants to meet with me, the husband of the woman he's having an affair with. Either he's incredibly arrogant, completely desperate, or both. I'll be there, I reply. You're not actually going, Rico says. Of course I'm going, this should be entertaining. Could be dangerous. Guys under pressure might do something stupid. I gesture around the garage at the tools and equipment I've accumulated over 15 years of honest work. Rico, I've been fixing things my whole life. Engines, transmissions, electrical systems, bodywork. You know what I've learned? What's that? Everything breaks down eventually. The trick is knowing which parts are worth saving and which ones need to be replaced. Carmine's restaurant sits on the corner of 5th and Main, the kind of old-school Italian place with red checkered tablecloths and wine bottles turned into candle holders. It's been here since 1952, surviving urban renewal, chain restaurant invasions, and 3 different recessions. The food's good, the prices are reasonable, and it's public enough that nobody's going to start trouble. Nathan's already there when I arrive, sitting in a corner booth with his back to the wall like he's expecting an ambush. Up close, he's smaller than his photos suggested. Maybe 5'10", medium build, with the kind of soft hands that have never held anything heavier than a pen. His expensive suit can't hide the stress lines around his eyes or the way his fingers drum nervously against the table. Jack Morrison? He stands up, extends his hand. Nathan Cross, thanks for coming. His handshake is firm but brief, like he's trying to project confidence while wanting to minimize contact. I slide into the booth across from him, noting how he keeps glancing toward the door. Interesting choice of venue, I observe. Most people having affairs with my wife prefer more private locations. Nathan's face goes pale, then red. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Black BMW, license plate Nate 1, parked next to my wife's Lexus in the Meridian Tower garage every Tuesday and Friday night for the past month. You're not as subtle as you think. He recovers quickly. I'll give him that. The color returns to normal, and he leans back in his seat with what's probably supposed to be a casual expression. Alyssa and I are colleagues, he says. We work together on various projects. Is that what they're calling it these days? The waitress approaches, Maria Carmine, the owner's daughter, who's been working here since high school. She's got that particular ability to sense tension and diffuse it with professional cheerfulness. Evening, gentlemen. Can I start you off with something to drink? Scotch, Nathan says. Make it a double. Beer, I tell her. Whatever's on tap. After she leaves, Nathan tries to regain control of the conversation. Look, I asked you here because I have a business proposition. I'm listening. I understand you run an automotive restoration business. Classic cars, muscle cars, that sort of thing. Among other things. I'm developing a new project. Luxury condos with attached garages for car collectors. High-end clientele. People who appreciate quality craftsmanship. I could use someone with your expertise to consult on the garage specifications. I take a sip of beer, studying his face. Sounds expensive. You sure you can afford quality craftsmanship right now? The question hits home. His jaw tightens, and the nervous finger drumming starts again. My business is doing very well, thank you. Really? Because I heard you've got some contractor problems. Safety violations, permit issues, that kind of thing. Temporary setbacks, nothing I can't handle. With my wife's help? Nathan's control finally cracks. He leans forward, voice dropping to an angry whisper. What exactly do you want, Morrison? I want to understand why a successful businessman like yourself needs to meet with the husband of his lawyer. Seems like a conflict of interest. There's no conflict, because there's no relationship beyond professional consultation. Right. And I'm sure the Bar Association would see it that way too. The threat hangs in the air between us, like smoke from a grease fire. Nathan's smart enough to understand the implications. If word gets out about his relationship with Alyssa, she could face disciplinary action from the state bar. Lawyers aren't supposed to provide free legal services to their lovers, especially when those lovers are facing potential legal problems. You're fishing, Nathan says, but his voice lacks conviction. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just a concerned citizen wondering why my wife's been working so many late nights lately. Maria returns with our drinks, the interruption giving both of us a chance to reset. Nathan downs half his scotch in one gulp, while I nurse my beer and wait for him to make the next move. Hypothetically, he says finally, what would it take to make this situation go away? Hypothetically? You'd have to be more specific about which situation you mean. The business problems, the questions people are asking, the rumors that are starting to spread. I pretend to consider this. Well, hypothetically, I'd say your problems are mostly self-inflicted. Cut corners on safety, stiff your contractors, overextend your financing, that's going to catch up with you eventually. Someone's been making phone calls, asking questions, stirring up trouble. Sounds like someone who cares about community safety and responsible business practices. Nathan finishes his scotch, signals Maria for another. How much? Excuse me? How much money would it take to make the phone calls stop? The question confirms what I suspected. Nathan thinks this is about money. He's so used to solving problems by throwing cash at them that he can't imagine any other motivation. You think I'm blackmailing you? Aren't you? I lean back in the booth, genuinely amused. Nathan, I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you except for you to stay away from my wife. That's not going to happen. Why not? She's married, you're a mess, and your business is falling apart. Doesn't seem like a great foundation for a relationship. Because I love her, he says, and for the first time tonight he sounds sincere. And she loves me. Love doesn't pay the bills when your construction company goes bankrupt. It won't come to that. You sure about that? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like your house of cards is already starting to collapse. Nathan's second scotch arrives, and he attacks it like it contains the answers to his problems. You don't know what you're talking about. I know that 3 contractors have filed liens against your properties. I know the city's investigating your permit process. I know your primary lender is reviewing your construction loan. And I know that none of this is going to get better as long as people keep asking uncomfortable questions about your business practices. The questions will stop, he says with more confidence than his situation warrants. Will they? Because I have a feeling they're just getting started. I finish my beer and stand up, dropping a 20 on the table to cover both our drinks. Thanks for the business proposition, Nathan. I'll have to pass, though. I prefer working with people who pay their contractors on time. I'm halfway to the door when he calls after me. This isn't over, Morrison. I turn back, giving him my best smile. No, it's not, but it's going to end exactly the way I want it to. Outside, I sit in my truck for a few minutes, processing the conversation. Nathan's scared, desperate, and making increasingly poor decisions. Perfect. My phone buzzes with a text from Rico. How'd it go? Better than expected, I reply. Our boy's starting to crack. What's next? I look back at the restaurant, where Nathan's probably ordering his 3rd scotch and trying to figure out how to salvage his crumbling empire. Time to turn up the heat. Friday morning brings news that makes my coffee taste like victory. Rico shows up at the garage with a newspaper, a box of donuts, and information that's sweeter than both combined. Page 1, business section, he says, grinning like he just won the lottery. Your friend Nathan made the headlines. The article's headline reads, Local developer faces financial crisis. Below it, a photo shows Nathan trying to hide his face from cameras as he leaves his lawyer's office. Not Alyssa's firm, I notice, but a bankruptcy specialist downtown. According to the reporter, Cross Development LLC defaulted on a major construction loan yesterday. The bank has frozen Nathan's business accounts and is threatening to foreclose on 3 of his properties. 2 more contractors have filed liens, and the city has suspended his permits pending a full investigation of his business practices. Gets better, Rico says around a mouthful of glazed donut. My contact at the courthouse says Nathan's been burning through lawyers faster than a house fire. Nobody wants to touch him. Except Alyssa. About that. Rico's expression turns serious. Word's getting around about their relationship. Jennifer Walsh has been talking. You know how she gets when she's had a few drinks. Apparently Alyssa's been staying at her place and crying about how complicated her life has become. I set down my coffee, processing this information. Jennifer Walsh has the biggest mouth in the city and the worst judgment when it comes to keeping secrets. If she's talking about Alyssa's affair, the whole town will know by Sunday. What exactly is she saying? That Alyssa's in love with some real estate developer who's having business problems. That she's been giving him free legal advice. That she wants to leave you but can't because he can't afford to support her right now. The irony is perfect. Alyssa wanted to trade up from a successful garage owner to a wealthy developer, but her wealthy developer turned out to be broke. Now she's stuck in limbo. Too proud to come back to me, too practical to commit to a man who might be bankrupt by Christmas. My phone rings. Alyssa's name appears on the screen. Jack, we need to talk, now. I'm at work. This is important. Meet me at the house in 20 minutes. The line goes silent. I look at Rico, who's been listening to my half of the conversation. Sounds like the lady's having a crisis, he observes. Good. Crisis makes people careless. I drive home to find Alyssa's Lexus already in the driveway, parked at an angle that suggests she was in a hurry. Inside, she's pacing the living room like a caged animal, still wearing yesterday's clothes and looking like she hasn't slept. "Did you see the newspaper?" she demands without preamble. "Hard to miss. Front page of the business section. This is your fault. How do you figure?" "Don't play innocent with me, Jack. I know you've been making phone calls, asking questions, stirring up trouble. Now Nathan's business is ruined, and my career could be destroyed." I sit down in my favorite chair, the old recliner she's been trying to get me to replace for 5 years, and study her face. She looks genuinely panicked, which is unusual for someone who makes her living staying calm under pressure. "Your career? How does Nathan's business problems affect your career?" "Because I've been helping him, giving him legal advice, reviewing his contracts, helping him deal with the contractor disputes. If the Bar Association finds out I was providing legal services without going through proper channels, you could be suspended or disbarred," I finish. "Yeah, that would be a problem." "It's worse than that." She stops pacing, faces me directly. "Some of the advice I gave him, it might not have been entirely ethical. Now we're getting to the heart of it." "What kind of advice?" "Ways to delay payments to contractors, how to structure contracts to minimize his liability, methods for challenging safety violations and permit requirements." I whistle low. "Alyssa, that's not just unethical. Some of that could be criminal if it resulted in safety violations or fraud." "I know." The words burst out of her like water from a broken pipe. "I know it was wrong, but I was trying to help him. I thought if I could just get him through the rough patch, everything would work out. And now? Now his business is collapsing. Reporters are asking questions and someone's going to start looking at his legal representation. When they do, they're going to find out about our relationship and my involvement in his business decisions." She collapses onto the couch, head in her hands. For the first time in months, she looks vulnerable instead of coldly professional. "What do you want from me?" I ask. "I want you to stop. Whatever you've been doing to sabotage Nathan's business, I want you to stop. And in return..." She looks up, hope flickering in her green eyes. "We can work things out, go to counseling, try to save our marriage. I'll end things with Nathan." It's tempting. Part of me, the part that remembers 23 years of shared history, wants to say yes. Wants to believe we can go back to the way things were before Nathan Cross entered our lives. But the larger part, the part that's been growing stronger every day since I found those text messages, knows better. "Too late for that," I tell her. "What do you mean?" "I mean you made your choice 4 months ago when you started having an affair. You made it again when you chose to help Nathan with his legal problems instead of maintaining professional boundaries. And you made it a 3rd time when you decided to blame me for the consequences of your own actions." "Jack, please." "No." I stand up. Decision made. "You want to know what I've been doing?" "I've been asking questions. Legitimate questions about a local businessman's practices. Questions that any concerned citizen might ask." "You've been systematically destroying his business." "I've been exposing problems that already existed. The safety violations, the unpaid contractors, the questionable financing, none of that was my doing. I just made sure the right people knew about it." She stares at me like she's seeing a stranger. "This isn't like you. Maybe you never knew me as well as you thought. The Jack Morrison I married wouldn't do something like this. The Jack Morrison you married wouldn't have needed to. He trusted his wife to honor her wedding vows." The words hit their target. Alyssa flinches, some of the fight going out of her. "So what happens now?" she asks quietly. "Now you deal with the consequences of your choices, just like everyone else. And us." "There is no us. There hasn't been for months." I head toward the door, then pause. "Oh, and Alyssa? You might want to find a good lawyer, someone who specializes in professional ethics violations. I have a feeling you're going to need one." Outside, I sit in my truck for a moment, hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. 23 years of marriage ended with a conversation that lasted less than 10 minutes. My phone buzzes with a text from Rico. Everything okay? Saw you leave the garage in a hurry? Better than okay, I reply. Just had a very enlightening conversation with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Want to talk about it? Later. Right now, I've got work to finish. I drive back to the garage, where Tommy Ricci's Barracuda is waiting for final adjustments before its resurrection is complete. Some things can be restored, brought back better than they were before. Others are too far gone to save. The trick is knowing which is which. Saturday morning arrives with the kind of crisp autumn air that makes everything seem possible. I'm in the garage early, putting the finishing touches on the Barracuda's restoration, when my phone starts buzzing with notifications. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails, all from numbers I don't recognize. The first voicemail explains everything. Mr. Morrison, this is Janet Stevens from Channel 7 News. We're doing a story about cross-development and Nathan Cross's business practices. We understand you may have information relevant to our investigation. Could you please call me back? Rico arrives 20 minutes later with coffee and a newspaper, grinning like he just witnessed something spectacular. You see the news yet? He asks, dropping the paper on my workbench. The headline screams across the front page, Developer's Empire Crumbles, Nathan Cross Faces Bankruptcy, Criminal Investigation. Below it, a photo shows Nathan being escorted from his office by federal agents carrying boxes of documents. According to the article, the FBI raided Cross Development's offices yesterday afternoon as part of an investigation into potential fraud and safety violations. Nathan's been arrested on charges of wire fraud, conspiracy, and endangering public safety. His assets have been frozen, his construction permits permanently revoked, and his business licenses suspended. Gets better, Rico says, flipping to page 3. Look at the sidebar story. The smaller headline reads, Local Attorney Under Investigation for Ethics Violations. The article is brief but devastating. The State Bar Association has opened an investigation into Alyssa Morrison's professional conduct, specifically her relationship with Nathan Cross and her provision of legal services outside proper channels. How long you think before they connect all the dots? Rico asks. They already have. I show him my phone, which has 17 missed calls from reporters, 3 from lawyers, and 1 from a number I recognize as the FBI field office. Apparently, I'm a person of interest. You worried? Should I be? I never broke any laws, never threatened anyone, never provided false information. All I did was ask questions and make sure the right people heard the answers. Rico nods approvingly. Beautiful thing about the truth, it doesn't need defending. My phone rings. The caller ID shows Tommy Ricci's number. Jack, you okay? I'm seeing your name in the newspaper, something about that developer who got arrested. I'm fine, Tommy. Just got caught up in someone else's mess. Good. Listen, I know you've been working on Dad's car. With all this craziness going on, I wanted to make sure everything's still on track. I look at the Barracuda, gleaming under the garage lights like a mechanical phoenix. 3 months of careful work have transformed it from a rusted relic into something beautiful and powerful. New engine, rebuilt transmission, fresh paint, restored interior, everything done right, no shortcuts, no compromises. She's ready, I tell him. Want to come take a look? Tommy arrives within the hour, bringing his wife and 2 kids. The whole family gathers around the car like it's a religious artifact, which in a way, it is. This machine represents continuity, tradition, the idea that some things are worth preserving and restoring. She's beautiful, Tommy breathes, running his hand along the hood. Dad would have loved this. Fire her up, I suggest, tossing him the keys. The engine catches immediately, settling into the deep, throaty rumble that only a properly tuned V8 can produce. Tommy's kids cheer, his wife tears up, and Tommy himself just sits behind the wheel with an expression of pure joy. How much do I owe you? He asks after turning off the engine. We agreed on $12,000, but given everything that's been happening, I'll take 10. Jack, I can't let you. Tommy, your dad's car deserves to be on the road, not sitting in my garage while lawyers argue about billing. 10 grand, and she's yours. We shake hands on it, and I watch as Tommy carefully drives his father's restored Barracuda out of my garage and into the afternoon sunlight. Some things can be saved. Some things are worth the effort. My phone rings again. This time it's a number I don't recognize, but something tells me I should answer. Jack Morrison? This is Agent Sarah Chen with the FBI. We'd like to speak with you about Nathan Cross and Cross Development. I figured you might. Can you come in this afternoon? We have some questions about the anonymous tips we received regarding Mr. Cross's business practices. Do I need a lawyer? That's up to you, Mr. Morrison. Right now, you're not a target of our investigation. We're just trying to understand the timeline of events that led to Mr. Cross's arrest. I agreed to meet them at 4 o'clock, then spend the rest of the afternoon cleaning my garage and organizing my thoughts. At 3:30, I drive downtown to the Federal Building, a concrete monument to bureaucratic efficiency that looks like it was designed by someone who hated both architecture and human happiness. Agent Chen turns out to be a small, efficient woman in her 30s, with intelligent eyes and a firm handshake. Her partner, Agent Rodriguez, is older and quieter, the kind of man who watches everything and says little. Thank you for coming in voluntarily, Agent Chen begins after we're seated in a windowless conference room. We understand you made several calls to city agencies regarding Nathan Cross's business practices. That's correct. Can you tell us what prompted those calls? I consider my answer carefully. I heard rumors about safety violations and unpaid contractors. As a business owner in this community, I thought the appropriate authorities should be aware of potential problems. These rumors, where did you hear them? Around town. The construction industry is pretty small here. Word gets around when someone's not paying their bills or cutting corners on safety. Agent Rodriguez speaks for the first time. Mr. Morrison, are you aware that your wife was having an extramarital relationship with Nathan Cross? I am now. Did that knowledge influence your decision to contact city agencies? Another careful pause. My personal life and my civic responsibilities are separate matters. If I believed a local businessman was engaging in potentially dangerous or fraudulent practices, I would report it regardless of any personal connection. Agent Chen leans forward. The timing is interesting, though. Your calls to various agencies began shortly after your wife's relationship with Mr. Cross started. Correlation isn't causation, Agent Chen. The timing might be coincidental, or it might be that my wife's involvement with Mr. Cross gave me access to information about his business practices that I wouldn't have had otherwise. What kind of information? Conversations I overheard, documents left around the house, text messages on devices that weren't properly secured. I spend the next hour answering questions about my phone calls, my knowledge of Nathan's business, and my relationship with Alyssa. The agents are thorough, but not hostile, and gradually I realize they're not trying to build a case against me. They're trying to understand how Nathan's house of cards finally collapsed. One last question, Agent Chen says as we're wrapping up. Do you have any regrets about the actions you took? I think about Tommy Ricci driving his father's restored Barracuda into the sunshine, about the contractors who will finally get paid when Nathan's assets are liquidated, about the future tenants who won't have to worry about substandard electrical work or inadequate fire exits. No, I say. I don't have any regrets. Outside the Federal Building, I check my phone to find a text from Alyssa. Need to talk. It's important. I'm done talking, I reply. Jack, please, I'm in serious trouble. You made your choices. Deal with the consequences. I drive home as the sun sets behind the hills west of town, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that remind me of the flames that consume things when they've outlived their usefulness. The house feels different now, not empty, but clean. Purged of lies and false promises and the accumulated weight of a marriage that should have ended years ago. My phone rings one final time. Rico's name appears on the screen. How'd it go with the feds? Better than expected. I think they're satisfied that I was just a concerned citizen doing his civic duty. And Alyssa? Facing a bar association investigation and possible criminal charges for her role in Nathan's schemes? Damn, you feel bad about that? I consider the question while looking around my living room, at the furniture we bought together, the photos of happier times, the accumulated debris of 23 years of shared life. No, I say finally. I feel free. So what's next? Next, I'm going to have a beer, watch some baseball, and go to bed early. Tomorrow, I'm going to open my garage and fix some cars, maybe take on a few more restoration projects. Sounds peaceful. Rico, for the first time in months, I know exactly who I am and what I want. That's not peaceful. That's powerful. After hanging up, I sit in my recliner with a cold beer and think about resurrection. Some things can be restored, brought back better than they were before. Others are too damaged by neglect, abuse, or simple entropy to salvage. The trick is knowing which is which, and having the courage to act on that knowledge. Outside, the first stars appear in the darkening sky, distant and cold, but somehow reassuring in their permanence. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new opportunities, new possibilities. But tonight, I'm exactly where I want to be.